Have you ever wondered what secrets lie buried in the archives of our most beloved creators? What happens when a piece of childhood joy turns into a vessel for something truly unsettling? This is the story of Mickey 9, a lost film that should have stayed lost. In 2022, a bright-eyed animation student named Leo was putting the finishing touches on his final project. For him, a visit to the Disney archives in Burbank was the ultimate pilgrimage. Surrounded by history, he felt like he was walking through a dream. The archivists were friendly, letting him explore reels from the golden age of animation, the 1930s. While digging through dusty, long-forgotten boxes, he stumbled upon something strange. A rusted metal canister, uncatalogued, with a single faded piece of tape on it. Scrawled in old ink were the words, "Mickey 9, do not scream." Intrigued, Leo showed it to an archivist. The man's face paled. "That shouldn't be here," he whispered, his voice trembling slightly. Some of these were supposed to have been destroyed decades ago. Someone must have misplaced it. But the warning only fueled Leo's curiosity. It was a piece of forbidden history. When the archivist turned his back, Leo did something he'd later regret. He slipped the heavy reel into his backpack and walked out, the weight of his secret pressing on his shoulders. That night, the air in Leo's small apartment was thick with anticipation. He threaded the mysterious film into his old projector, killed the lights, and hit the switch. The familiar, flickering black and white of a classic cartoon filled the wall. There he was, Mickey Mouse, strolling down a cobblestone street, whistling a happy, familiar tune. It was charming, nostalgic, but then Leo noticed something was wrong. The background was on a loop. The same 3 buildings passed by, over and over. Mickey's joyful whistle seemed to repeat with an unnatural precision. The animation itself was jerky, as if drawn by a shaky hand, a stark contrast to the fluid magic he was used to. After about a minute, the whistling abruptly stopped. Silence. Mickey's iconic smile slowly dissolved, replaced by a vacant, unsettling expression. His eyes, usually so full of life, became hollow, empty black circles. He began to walk slower, his footsteps echoing with a heavy, dragging sound that didn't fit his cheerful character. The gentle background music warped, twisting into a low, droning static that grated on the ears. And then, underneath the static, another sound began to emerge. Faint at first, but growing louder. It was crying. Not the exaggerated sobs of a cartoon, but the raw, heartbreaking sound of real human weeping. It felt completely disconnected from the images on screen, as if someone was crying just behind the camera, their sorrow bleeding into the film itself. A cold knot formed in Leo's stomach. The film flickered violently. The world on screen began to contort. The buildings twisted and bent inwards, as if being squeezed by an unseen force. The sky melted into dark, inky smudges. Mickey's form began to stretch, his body elongating into something monstrous and unnatural. His head tilted from side to side, jerky and puppet-like, as if his strings had been cut. He stopped walking. He turned his head slowly and stared directly out of the screen. directly at Leo, and then he smiled again. But this smile was wrong. It was filled with a perfect set of uncannily human teeth. Leo was paralyzed with fear. His heart hammered against his ribs. He lunged for the projector, fumbling to switch it off. But the reel kept spinning. The motor whirred defiantly. The terrifying image of Mickey's human-toothed smile remained burned onto the wall, unmoving. Then the screen flashed to black. Handwritten words, like a ghostly message, appeared in stark white ink. "He's not your friend anymore." With a sickening crack, the film reel snapped, the brittle celluloid scattering across his apartment floor like broken bones. The lights in his room flickered once, and in that split second, Leo saw it. In the dark reflection of his television screen, a shadow stood just behind him. A shadow with 2 round ears and white-gloved hands. The next morning, sleep-deprived and shaken, Leo rushed back to the archives, the broken film in hand. He had to know what he had seen. But the kind archivist from the day before was gone. When Leo asked for him, the other employees just stared back blankly. No one by that name had ever worked there, they said. It was as if the man had never existed. A different archivist agreed to inspect the canister. She took it from his trembling hands and opened the rusted lid. But it was empty. The pieces of broken film were gone. All that remained inside was a single, folded piece of paper. Written on it in thick black marker were 5 terrifying words. "He watches who watches him." Leo fled the archives, his mind reeling. He tried to explain the night's events to his friends, but they just laughed, dismissing it as a creepy pastor story he'd read online. "It's just an urban legend, man," they told him, desperate for proof. Leo pulled out his phone to show them the video he'd recorded of the screening. But the file was corrupted. It was just a black screen filled with hissing static. And when he tried to delete it, his phone would crash and restart itself. When it rebooted, something was different. His background wallpaper had changed. It was now a simple black image, with the faint silhouette of a cartoon character smiling from the darkness. A silhouette with 2 round ears. Over the next week, Leo's life unraveled. He started hearing things in his apartment. Faint, squeaking sounds, like rubber shoes on a tile floor just outside his bedroom door. His TV would turn on by itself, displaying nothing but static that, if he stared long enough, seemed to form the ghostly outline of Mickey's face. Sleep became a luxury he couldn't afford. He was being haunted. One night, his neighbor was woken by a terrible noise. Loud, blood-curdling screaming, followed by the sound of shattering glass coming from Leo's apartment. The police were called. They found the apartment door unlocked. Inside, the place was a wreck, but Leo was gone. The only thing left on was his old projector, its lamp still warm, casting a single flickering beam of light onto the far wall. And in that light, a shadow took form, a shadow of Mickey Mouse. It waved slowly once, before fading completely into the darkness. Leo was never seen or heard from again. Disney, of course, has never acknowledged the existence of a film called Mickey 9. The story has become a piece of dark folklore, a ghost story for the digital age. Some theorists whisper it was an experimental short by a disturbed animator from the 1930s, who also vanished without a trace. Others suggest it was a psychological study that went horribly wrong. But every now and then, new claims pop up on forgotten corners of the internet. People who swear they found the real in a dusty flea market or an abandoned storage unit. And every person who claims to have watched it reports the exact same chilling details. The sound of real human crying, the ghostly message, "He's not your friend anymore," and the shared nightmare that follows, waking up in the dead of night to find Mickey Mouse standing silently in the corner of their bedroom, smiling his terrible, human-toothed smile, just waiting for them to open their eyes. What was once a symbol of innocence has, for a few unlucky souls, become a harbinger of dread. A reminder that behind the brightest smiles can hide the darkest secrets. So, if you ever come across an old film reel labeled with a simple warning, "Do not scream, remember Leo's story," some characters are best left in the past, and if you happen to hear a faint, cheerful whistling in the dark, don't turn round. He might be watching you. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this dive into the dark side of animation, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories from the shadows. Stay safe out there.